Well, per your request, I am putting together a review of Quadratics for you. And here are our 5 sections. We skipped section 5, but here are the 5 sections and all of the information that is from each one of them. And what I'm going to do is do a couple of problems. One that we will factor, and then use the axis of symmetry in the vertex, discuss whether it's a maximum or a minimum, one where we'll do the quadratic formula, and again axis of symmetry and vertex, and then maximum minimum. And I just realized that I did not throw in solving quadratics with no b terms, so I'll just throw some of those in at the very end. Okay? So we'll just kind of wrap it all into one problem at a time. So let's do this, shall we? Alright, so this first problem right here, x squared plus 13x equals negative 42, and if we are asked for the zeros or the roots or x-intercepts, remember those are all the same. Another question that you may see is how many solutions are there, which if they ask for how many solutions is the same as x-intercepts is the same as roots and oh no, I lost it. Oh, zeros. I had a brain fart. Alright, now first thing, remember that these equations are always written in standard form. Standard form meaning that all of your terms are on the same side of the equal sign and they are set equal to 0. So that would be x squared plus 13x plus 42 equals 0. Now with this one, remember you always want to start with seeing if you can factor it first. Is it a possibility? If it's not, then we move into the quadratic formula. So we start with making our table. So make our table here. So first we take our coefficient here and our number here and multiply them together, which is 4, positive 4. And then we have, what? I'm sorry. This was be 42. Okay, delete that, pretend that didn't happen. Whoops. Sorry if I confused you. I have no idea what happened right there. That would not be a 4, this would be 42. So anyway, make sure that you multiply that whole number, which would be 42, not 4. And then we're adding to get 13. Alright, so right off the bat for me, 6 and 7 are the first two factors I think of. When I multiply, I get 42, and then when you add them, you get 13. So now we go ahead and replace our middle term. So leave x squared as it is, replace your middle, so plus 6x and then plus 7x plus 42 is equal to 0. Group together your first two, so x squared plus 6x, and then plus sign in between. It's very important that you remember that because without the plus sign you may think it's factored and it's definitely not. All we did was regroup. Now we take out our GCF, so x, and that leaves us with x plus 6. We take out our GCF here, which would be 7, and that would leave us with x plus 6. And now we have together our GCFs, x plus 7, and what was left over, x plus 6. Now this part is just the factoring. Now we can solve them because we have two binomials being multiplied. So we take each one and set it equal to 0. So x plus 7 is equal to 0, and x plus 6 is equal to 0. Subtract 7 from both sides. So we end up with x equals negative 7. That is one of our solutions. Subtract 6 from both sides, and we end up with x equals negative 6. That is a second solution. So that means if we look over here at our graph, negative 6 and negative 7 is where it's going to go through the x-axis. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So here and here will be where it goes through our axis. Okay? Now, it's really close together, so that means our vertex is going to be somewhere in here. So I'm going to go ahead and get rid of all of this stuff. Obviously you still need it, but I want to replace this with our axis of symmetry and also our vertex. Now with axis of symmetry, remember that is your negative b over 2a, which is when you have it written in standard form. So when we're looking at this quadratic, we have it written in standard form. We did that already. Our a is 1 and our b is 13. So we do negative b divided by 2a, and that is your axis of symmetry. So when we do that, we get a negative 13 over 2 times 1. So our axis of symmetry is x equals a negative 6.5. All right, so that would be right around here. Let me go ahead and just make a line. And this is just for your own benefit, so you can kind of see where this is going. But at about negative 6.5, it's going to reflect on both sides and be the same distance away on each side. And you'll notice that the zeros are the same distance from the axis of symmetry. So now we need the vertex. Well, remember that to get the vertex, you have to take your negative 6.5 and plug that in. So vertex, we know that our x value is negative 6.5. We need our y value. Well, we need to take our negative 6.5 and plug it into our original problem. So negative 6.5 squared plus negative 6, oops, sorry, I forgot the 13. What is with me today? Plus 13 times the negative 6.5, and then plus 42. And let's see here, I'm going to go ahead and do this real quick for you. So negative 6.5 squared plus 13 times the negative 6.5, and then plus 42, and you end up getting out a negative 0.25, or about 1/4. All right, so when we are graphing this, because these are decimals, we just make an estimation. So we go over negative 6.5 and go down about 1/4. So that means the vertex really is only about right here. And then it's going to go ahead and open up this way, and we put our arrows on the ends to show that it is extending in both directions. So there is your little parabola, and we know that this vertex, our vertex for this problem, would be a minimum. So this is a minimum because it's the lowest point of the parabola, and we know that it opens upward because our coefficient with our x squared is a positive. It's a positive 1, so it opens up. All right, onward to the next one. So now here's another one. Remember to always start with your standard form. So start with adding 8w to both sides. All right, so we have w squared plus 8w plus 11. And you'll notice this time I put this term that I added into the middle, and the reason is because I want it in standard form. So w squared, then w, then the number. Okay, now we always begin with seeing if we can factor it. So we start with our table. So multiply and add our mama table. And multiply to give us 11, but add to give us a positive 8. Well, 11 is prime. The only thing that goes into that is 11 and 1. And there is definitely no way for us to combine these two numbers with addition or subtraction and get them to give us the number 8. So factoring is out of the question. Factoring is not going to work. And you may want to make a note to yourself about the fact that we cannot factor this. So since we can't factor, that means we're doing quadratic formula. And I sure hope that you sing it with me because, well, I'm singing to a computer. So make me feel not as bad, okay? All right, so x equals negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. All right, so remember, this whole thing up here is the numerator. The whole thing goes over 2a, not just the portion under the square root. Now we need to list out our values. What's a, what's b, all that good stuff. So, first of all, a is the coefficient in front of the w squared. So A right here is 1. And then we can move on to B. B is the coefficient in front of W, so that would be 8. And our third one, which would be C, would be 11. Alright, now I always list out negative B also because we use negative B in the formula. So remember that if B is whatever number it is, negative B just means the opposite. So negative B would be a negative 8. And now you go in and plug in all of your information. So x equals negative B, which is our negative 8, plus or minus the square root of B squared, so 8 squared, remember to use parentheses, minus 4 times A, which is 1, times C, which is 11, all over 2 times 1. Now remember, we're simplifying. Simplify all of the numerator first. So we get 64 minus 44 over 2. And then we get negative 8 plus or minus the square root of 20 over 2. Now 20 is not a perfect square, so at this point I'm going to go ahead and split this into two equations. X equals negative 8 plus the square root of 20 over 2, and then x equals negative 8 minus the square root of 20 all over 2. Alright, now remember when you're doing this in your calculators, you always simplify the numerator first. Alright, so negative 8 plus the square root of 20, simplify that, and then you divide that answer by 2, which gives you about, and really I should use squiggly equals, the approximately sign, negative 1.76, and then our other answer would be negative 8 minus the square root of 20, and then divide by 2, which would be about, I did that again, negative 6.24. Okay, and then you take that, and these are your two solutions. So how many solutions does this problem have? 2. So we graph them, negative 1.76, we just make an estimation, and negative 6.24, so 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, we just make an estimation. Alright, so there we go. There's that information. Now if we want to do axis of symmetry, remember that part is your negative b over 2a. So negative b, remember, is negative 8 divided by 2 times a, which is just 2, leaving us with x is 4 as our axis of symmetry. So negative b over 2a, which means negative 8 divided by 2 times 1, which is negative 4. So that would put that line, the axis of symmetry, right about 1, 2, 3, 4, right there. Not right there. And let me shift that over. It would put it right there. Okay, so now that we know that negative 4 is our axis of symmetry, remember that's your x value of your vertex. Okay, so negative 4. So to find your y value, take that and plug it in for your variables. And remember, you want to put it into your standard form equation. Alright? So when we do that, you're always plugging in using parentheses. Don't forget that, especially because this has negatives. And we end up getting negative 5 out. So negative 4 would be here, negative 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, so about here. And then we go ahead and connect our points and semi-ish, kind of. Alright, so I think what I'm going to do is go ahead and stop this one where we are. I'm going to make a second video that will do some problems that don't have a B term, and then of course we'll have the dancing. So don't you fret, we'll get the dancing done. Alright, so go ahead and switch over to that other video real quick.